Sheikh Gumi is spreading terrorism. There is no person who will want Sheikh Gumi in the territory of that state apart from a state that knows it's a terrorist state. And I can tell you today that the Fulani Caliphate should be declared a terrorist organization. And once you declare Fulani Caliphate a terrorist organization, you will see that it will lead to the arrest of Sheikh Gumi and those headers, Fulani headers, who are terrorizing the whole entity called Nigeria. So if we want to stop the terror, or at least minimize the terror that is happening across Nigeria, the Fulani Caliphate should be declared a terrorist organization. Sheikh Gumi, today, I confirmed before we started this podcast that he's an Hausa man. And if you guys should know very well that the Hausas were those who were inhabiting the northern Nigeria before the Fulanis came in. And immediately the Fulanis came in, they started using the Hausas. And before you knew it, they became in charge of the Hausas, those territories. It is very difficult for you to see any emir in the north that is not a Fulani, even though the majority of the people that he is ruling over as an emir will be Hausas. So Sheikh Gumi is being used by the Fulanis for their utmost intention, the Fulani Caliphate. Nigerian state is being run by terrorists. I'm telling you the facts. Now, let me give you a perfect example. There was this terrorist that everybody knows was involved in, church shooting. He was eventually captured by the police, and bring it up to our viewers. He was captured by the police and he escaped eventually. I understand that he escaped because of certain powerful intervention, and it was a kind of, the information was packaged for us as if it's a narrative of escape. And then when he escaped, do you know where he was found? He was found at the state house of a certain politician. That certain politician was harboring these terrorists, and that certain politician is today the vice president of Nigeria. So when you hear that some terrorists are not being prosecuted, and then you are wondering why they are not being prosecuted by the state, when somebody who protects terrorists ends up being a leader in Nigeria, the vice president of Nigeria, what do you think? Nigeria is a terrorist state.
Welcome to Glasscast. It seems impossible until it's done. This is one phrase or sentence or acronym that have resonated with most of you in our recent episode. It is a very interesting subject. And all of you that used that concept would understand the true meaning of when something seems impossible until it's done. And that is from one of Africa's most active frontliner in terms of freedom and liberty for the people. And on this, we want to appreciate your engagement and conversation in that particular episode, because you showed that you follow up with our analysis and you engage with us. We want to appreciate you. From all of us here and all the team, all the Glasscast podcast team, we want to say thank you. And we want you to continue to engage with us, because we would always be here to provide you that analysis that you require without taking sides. So it is what it is. And we're here today, and we have brought back Mazi, who made that statement reflecting on his knowledge of what Nelson Mandela have done in the past. So we have Mazi in the house again today.
Thank you very much. Good evening, our viewers.
And we have the elder of Glasscast. We call him the son of Glasscast, Dr. Oscar and Leon. Doc, it's good to have you today.
Thank you so much. Now you've paid me again with Mazi. Mazi, I hope we would have agree on some points today, because it seems that we are on opposite poles and political and so many issues.
Definitely, we agree as long as it concerns terrorism.
Well, we disagree to agree.
Whatever it is, I'll put out the position of the law, not my personal opinion.
Not Nigerian position.
Not Nigerian position. You've started already. I don't work for Nigerian government.
Well, not Nigerian position, but position of the law. Yeah. And if there is something that people have asked us to take deeper look into, and that relates to that episode that we were just talking about now, when Mazi asked the son of Glasscast here, do you know somebody called Sheikh Gumi. And people began to ask questions, and they want us to talk more about that question and the activities of Sheikh Gumi. But before we go into that, we are not here to discuss individual, but we are here to draw analysis from events that are happening. And today we are in Nigeria. There are a lot of activities that have been taking place this week. The ambassadorial nomination and people fighting for or against whom were nominated for ambassadorial post, people that have taken some responsibilities outside government and trying to represent what they believe in. I'm talking of in the person of Reno Omokri. We will spend time to talk about Reno Omokri, maybe in subsequent activities. And that, we also talk about the ambassadorial nomination, whether the Tinubu APC government is rewarding corruption or they are doing the right thing by appointing somebody like Professor Yakub, whom people criticize his activities during, the recent elections, by him having to be offered that important position, and the implication, how people see Nigeria in the general terms. So these are the kind of things we are looking at. So the subject we are addressing today is what we call the NSA. It is not the position of Nuhu Ribadu, but we are talking about the non-state actors. We want to use this analysis to look at activities, because you have asked us to do analysis of the activities of the person of Sheikh Ahmad Gumi. So we want to draw that analysis using the definition or analysis or understanding of what non-state actors mean and how they influence policies and politics, including religious and socio-cultural activities within the society. So sit right back. If you have your glass of water, keep it close. Or if you have that popcorn with you, draw it closer, because you are going to have a very interesting conversation. I will always promise you that when Mazi is here and Elder, we will always have very interesting conversation. And with also most of our guests that we have in the house. So I want to start with Mazi. You asked Elder that day, do you know the person called Sheikh Gumi? Why did you ask that question?
Yeah, I asked that question because anytime if you remember during the Biafran War, some people in the South, whenever they decide to want to salvage their head, they will always take a position against the Southeast, against the Igbos. So it appears that whenever any person wants to derive certain protection from the Nigerian state, they will take a position that is against the Igbo. And the reason, in particular, why I asked that question is because the activities that Sheikh Gumi was doing or is doing is expressly against the Nigerian state. However, Nigerian state decides to go to fight for someone who is acting in line with what the Constitution provides or provided, which is the right of a people to self-determination. But Sheikh Gumi, who I can tell you is working in alliance with the division of Nigeria, in the sense that he is working for the Fulani Caliphate to spread terror across Nigeria, is free. A free man, say, parading his nonsense. And Nigerian state is there sitting and watching Sheikh Gumi do whatever he's doing without actually doing anything to arrest whatever he is doing. So my colleague was taking a position that is contrary to what the Constitution of Nigeria says, in the sense that he didn't address whatever harm Sheikh Gumi was doing to Nigeria, but he was interested in pursuing the right of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu towards self-determination, and seeing it that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is taking a step that is not in line with what Nigeria wants. So that's why I was asking him, do you know Sheikh Gumi? Because if you want to address Sheikh Gumi, you will see that Sheikh Gumi is not an entity that anybody will want within the territory of their state. There is no person who will want Sheikh Gumi in the territory of their state apart from a state that knows it's a terrorist state. And I can tell you today that the Fulani Caliphate should be declared a terrorist caliphate, a terrorist state.
Well, but there's nothing like Fulani state.
The Fulani Caliphate should be declared a terrorist organization. And once you declare Fulani Caliphate a terrorist organization, you will see that it will lead to the arrest of Sheikh Gumi and those headers, Fulani headers, who are terrorizing the whole entity called Nigeria. So if we want to stop the terror, or at least minimize the terror that is happening across Nigeria, the Fulani Caliphate should be declared a terrorist organization.
Well, I believe Elder will disagree with some of your positions.
Thank you so much. I'm not surprised. You're in full Biafra regalia, so I'm not surprised what the passion and emotion that we put out today. But let me take on from the starting point when you mentioned Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And in the last episode, you mentioned the international law principle of jus cogens. And you have brought it up again, right to self-determination. But let me briefly touch on that. That right to self-determination is not a magic one that once you wave it, everything is solved. And even a year one law student will knows that no right is absolute. They have a right to freedom of speech. I'm here, I have the right to speak, freedom of speech. I cannot stand here on this podcast and be defaming everybody. And when you arrest me, I tell you I have a right to freedom of speech.
So every right has responsibility.
Yes, for every right, there's a corresponding responsibility. You have the right to freedom of movement. That does not give you the right to be trespassing into people's property and into people's houses. You have the right to freedom of association. It doesn't give you the right to belong to terrorist organizations. So yeah, you have a right to self-determination. And keep in mind, Nnamdi Kanu was imprisoned or was convicted not because he's fighting for Biafra, because he committed act of terrorism in his quest for Biafra. So keep that in mind and let our viewers understand that very well. Now, coming to the issue you mentioned, you asked me a question. Do I know who Sheikh Gumi is? And I said you yes. That the day we are going to talk about him, I'm going to make my position known to the public. And I'm happy we are back again by popular demand of our subscribers. So I'm here today. You're going to hear my view today about what I think about him or what I know about him. I'm happy we are here today, but I think it's important I make that clarification that because you have a right to self-determination does not mean that if you're pursuing that your right, you'll be committing acts of terrorism in Nigeria.
Well, I believe some of you also have your opinion, but when you look at what is happening in the, especially in the social media environment, in the national press and all this, because of what Sheikh Gumi said recently about abduction and the losing of men who fight for the military in Nigeria, and people may not agree with his point of view, but when you are talking of somebody who, if you look at the life of the cleric Sheikh Gumi, he is somebody that is not a stranger to Nigerian development. He's a trained medical doctor who looks after people, who cares, and doctors are carers. They care for people. He's somebody who
doctors ought to be carers. Qualify that.
Yeah, well, they ought to be carers. Yeah. So, and he has also, worked with the Nigerian military and retired as a captain. He's somebody who teaches people good morals, religious morals, and the benefit of believing in God and all that. And he could be controversial, but I don't think people would agree to some people would agree to some of the attributes that people are giving to Sheikh Gumi today.
First and foremost, before I address that issue, I want to respond to certain facts that my colleague made. You know that when you say that Mazen Nnamdi Kanu was convicted of terrorism, and then when you say that for the fact that you have a right to self-determination, it doesn't mean that you should be involved in terrorism, and then certain rights have corresponding responsibilities.
Not certain rights, every right. Every right.
That's where I want to disagree. And the reason I want to disagree is this. Mazen Nnamdi Kanu was renditioned in Kenya. And when you look at the judgment of a court in Kenya, it was in favor of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. And in that judgment, those who renditioned him were mandated to pay him damages. And the right Mazen Nnamdi Kanu has, of which those who renditioned him violated those rights, was the right against torture. Mazen Nnamdi Kanu was tortured in Kenya and brought back to Nigeria against his will. In the retinue of rights that we all know, the right that you have against torture has no corresponding responsibility. So there is nothing that you should expect from Mazen Nnamdi Kanu for him not to be tortured.
Well, you want me to respond? I will absolutely respond to this point.
Yeah,
I will respond.
Yes, there is absolutely nothing that you should expect from me for you not to torture me. You can't.
Yeah.
You understand? So for you to say that whatever they did to Mazen Nnamdi Kanu in order to bring him to Nigeria, rendition him to Nigeria, to make him undergo for the past 10 years, the torturous acts that they have made him to undergo, it doesn't warrant him to be tortured. You can't expect any responsibility from him. It is a right not only protected under Nigerian Constitution, but it's an internationally protected right. That is why we even have the Convention Against Torture. You cannot expect any responsibility from any person in order to expect that person not to be tortured.
But let me make this point clear, because we have thousands of viewers and subscribers who are watching us. So, and I want my position to be known and to be made clear. I do not support torture. I do not support any illegal act. You mentioned the judgment of a Kenyan court. That was a civil judgment. Nnamdi Kanu, if his rights are violated, he has a right to file a case against the government, Nigeria, and claim actions in damages. You mentioned it.
And he did it.
Sorry?
He did it. He filed the case.
I'm not the judge sitting over it. So I'm not the one to decide whether his rights were violated or not. If he wins, he will be entitled to actions in damages. There are instances, decided cases, where somebody was convicted of a criminal offense, but he has a claim against government in civil cases in damages, even in private individuals. Even in law, they taught us evidence, no matter how you obtain it, if it's relevant, it's admissible. So that he renditioned from Kenya, he is entitled to civil damages against federal government. He can pursue it and get it, millions and millions of naira. But for the fact that he has been brought to Nigeria to face a trial, and he's been convicted, I'm not the God who convicted him.
All right. No, I didn't say that he's God. Let us get something straight here.
What I want to get straight is that I do not support torture. If he's tortured by the federal government, and there are cases in the Kenyan government which the Kenyan decision is not binding on the Nigerian government, he can pursue action in damages against the federal government, and he's entitled, is part of his rights. He's entitled to that. I do not say that he should be tortured or he doesn't have a right not to be tortured. Well, he has that right. But I want to make that point clear. Yeah. That you have a right to self-determination does not, in any form or shape, give you the right to commit a criminal act, whether stealing or you want to go and steal a flag to go and use for your self-determination. It's a crime. If you go to a shop and steal the Nigeria Biafra flag or whatever flag of country are supporting that I want to use for self-determination, are you going to be free from crime?
No.
Because you have a right to self-determination. That's the simplest of it all. But I want to make this point clear. Let's move on to the...
Yeah.
We need to move on.
I'm trying to guide us. Okay, yes. I would well, today we are remember we are talking about an individual who represents something we are trying to analyze the non-state actors and how they influence policies and politics. And I know we don't want to digress that much, but I want to take you on the position of, because Nnamdi Kanu came into this discussion, even though it wasn't anticipated, and because
it was Maz who brought him in.
Yeah, I could understand how passionate Maz is on this case, but I want you to respond, to this in relation to the subject we have today. Injustices happen to people, and the person we are talking about today, Sheikh Gumi, have come out among all the controversial statements he's made. He said he, as an individual, with his connections, with his cultural and religious movement, could influence the federal government to release Nnamdi Kanu. And today, you are saying that his actions suggest the opposite. How do you see this position, Mazi?
Honestly, there are certain information when they are put out in public, just as we are doing, I feel uncomfortable if I don't address them. But for the purpose of the podcast, I think I will, the topic we have, I think I will allow that. But I don't believe that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu committed any act of terrorism. I think I should put that one out. And if I am given 5 minutes on another occasion, I will lay down very, very well the rationale behind my belief. Because any person can get up one day and say that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been convicted by a Nigerian court today of terrorism, and that person will stick to it and allow it to ride. But remember, as far as I'm concerned, Nigeria does not obey any law. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has received several judgments against Nigeria. None of them was fulfilled by the Nigerian state. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu received judgment against Nigeria in the Federal High Court. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu received judgment against Nigeria in the State High Court, where the Nigerian government was mandated to pay him damages. They did as if they didn't even know that the judgment exists. They did as if they didn't know. But when it comes against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, that's when people will start saying that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been convicted or Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has committed terrorism. But I will leave that one to lie. Sheikh Gumi, today, I confirmed before we started this podcast that he's an Hausa man. And if you guys should know very well that the Hausas were those who were inhabiting the northern Nigeria before the Fulanis came in. And immediately the Fulanis came in, they started using the Hausas. And before you knew it, they became in charge of the Hausas. Those territories. It is very difficult for you to see any emir in the north that is not a Fulani, even though the majority of the people that he is ruling over as an emir will be Hausas. So Sheikh Gumi is being used by the Fulanis for their utmost intention, the Fulani Caliphate. They are the owners of Nigeria, or they believe that they are the owners of Nigeria. So those who are holding Mazi Nnamdi Kanu today are the Fulani Caliphate in Nigeria. That's what I believe in. So I don't want to believe that Sheikh Gumi has any capacity in terms of holding Mazi Nnamdi Kanu or not, unless that the rulers of Nigeria, who are, as far as I'm concerned, the same Fulani Caliphate, want to use him to work towards the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, of which I have no knowledge about it. But if he says that that's his own concern, I don't know where he got his information from. But Sheikh Gumi is spreading terrorism, and he compared IPOB to the Fulani herdsman the other day. He compared them, and I heard it. So if Sheikh Gumi wants to release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu or help in the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, as far as I'm concerned, I want Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to be released. But one thing I am proud of where Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is that he has refused to be bribed in order that he will drop his quest for self-determination and get freedom.
So do you agree that even if he takes the the intervention of the person of Sheikh Gumi to release Nnamdi Kanu, you are happy with it?
As far as I'm concerned, I want freedom for him. If Sheikh Gumi has the authority in Nigeria, even for us to even be talking this thing, it's ridiculous to me that somebody as such as Sheikh Gumi will have authority to release Nnamdi Kanu. Well, that's very ridiculous.
Maz, let me come in here very quickly.
Yes.
Just one sentence rebuttal on if tomorrow Nnamdi Kanu wins his case on appeal, I come to this podcast and say he's not an ex-convict. He's not been convicted of terrorism. That's clear. My statement is predicated on the fact that there's a subsisting court judgment. So if he goes on Court of Appeal, Supreme Court, and wins it, I'll come to this podcast and say he's not an ex-convict. So that is settled.
But what is reality is reality.
What is the position of the law is the position of the law as we speak. I'm standing on the position of the law. You mentioned Sheikh Gumi on his where he said he has the power to get Nnamdi Kanu released. I do not know what his connections are. The other time we had an episode about clemency and pardon. If you hear what has been happening in America, so many people who are close to Trump have been, letting him pardon his friends and associates. I do not know the link Sheikh Gumi has to the president or to the current presidency to talk to them and to get them influence. He may have such a connection, but he is not the federal government. He's not the head of the executive. He's not the head of the judiciary. He's not in National Assembly. So whatever power he thinks he has, it could be a power of his connection and link, or to the powers that be that can grant that clemency or that can grant that pardons. And that information I do not have. So I do not know what his powers are in terms of that.
So if you're looking at his president, like he's been able to negotiate between the government and the terrorists, and some of them were able to leave their struggle and join and become reformed, and they were even recruited in.
Well, that you are raising a different question now. That brings to question the person of Sheikh Gumi, his antecedents, his activities. What is he doing? Why is he still walking free on the street? And I promise you that the day we are going to talk about any other thing, I'm going to make my position known. Now, when you look at Sheikh Gumi, the way he fraternizes with the bandits, with the Boko Haram, with the kidnappers, I could not but say that this man should at least be arrested and prosecuted. That is my position. At least, at the minimum, he should be arrested, interrogated, and there are sufficient evidence to put him on the dock for trial.
I completely agree with you.
For the first time.
Wow.
For the first time.
It's getting interesting.
So that's my position, because how could you, when I look at the Terrorism Act, definition of terrorism, or the person that can be charged for terrorism, if you are complicit, then how do you define somebody who is complicit when you are fraternizing with Boko Haram, fraternizing with bandits, kidnappers? They have gone. They surround you. They surround you like you are their organ.
Exactly.
Like you are their main man.
Exactly.
I mean, who does that?
Exactly.
Where does that happen in a same climate? It doesn't happen anywhere. So to me, I think there is a question for our government to answer. Why is this man still walking free on the street?
Exactly.
Elder, if I may take you on that, I remember in sometime around 2021, government took Sheikh Gumi and they interrogated him. He was detained by the DSS. And I think there was not enough evidence to say he's doing this. So why are we calling for that this time?
What evidence do you need for a bandit negotiator?
Well, DSS knows better.
What evidence do you need seeing them with guns surrounding you, AK-47, military grade equipment? And he's the only person who can go into their den and come out safely. Nothing will happen to him. He's walking about. He's their spokesman. What evidence do you need? Put him on the dock and try him with at least this evidence that we have, that we are seeing him fraternizing with them, speaking with them, begging for them, telling you, oh, these guys are freedom fighters. These guys are because they've been marginalized, because they've been neglected. Is that a reason to commit a crime?
Well, is there any evidence that he's committed a crime? Because
I'm telling you, this is don't you see them? Haven't you seen them on televisions or in social media fraternizing with these bandits?
He's negotiating. He's there. He's there. After all, it was in the news, back in the days, that our dear former president Muhammadu Buhari was also appointed to be a negotiator for Boko Haram. So
Buhari is
the late Buhari is a terrorist.
Buhari was he far from a Boko Haram?
The late Buhari is a terrorist.
He's a terrorist. Yeah, I agree with you.
Nigeria has been in a position where those who are terrorists can rule the country, and I didn't say it.
When he lost election, he said there was
that he went to the country uninhabited.
Uninhabited, and he said there was a time he used baboons to be soaked in blood. Yeah. Where NYC people were killed. Exactly. If he's in same climate, he will be questioned.
Exactly.
And mind you, this was a coup plotter.
Exactly. And remember,
he's not a good example.
He's not a good example at all. And remember that one of the army chiefs came out and told Boko Haram guys carrying guns that if they decide not to continue in their ways, that they can one day be president of Nigeria.
Well, I need to see that.
You need to see it.
Evidence.
How I wish that in our podcast, when we are releasing the video, that we should be flying this in, because it's there in the news.
Yeah, it's there. It's all over the places.
It's all over the place.
Sorry. But when you talk about this, sometimes security issues is very delicate, and sometimes there are things that happen behind that more than eyes can see. And because let's use the example of the activities of Sheikh Gumi here. There was I think it was 4 years ago or 5 years ago that students were kidnapped, and some of them
they keep kidnapping students, so we can't even think.
In that particular case, it was his intervention that saved about 25 or 27 students, whom some of them, about 5 or 6 of them, have already lost their life. But he intervened, and the kidnappers were able to release these students, to their parents, to their families. And this is somebody that is also against terrorism happening in Nigeria. He has made it open vocally everywhere that I think he has made statement of, God or whatever will punish whoever that is sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria. He has come out to say foreign governments are sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria. So for him to come out, even he's not in the good book of many people, many countries. He went to Saudi Arabia. He was deported because of his position on how things are. He's vocal about all these things, but people, it kind of puts to question when people still come around and say, "Oh, this person that is doing this is also supporting the acts of terrorism."
What you do is more important than what you say.
Exactly.
What you do is more important than what you say.
Another one.
If in any same climate people were kidnapped, you are the arrowhead who led that negotiation. You are not a government official. You are not a government appointed. You should be the first suspect to be arrested and questioned properly.
But the most important thing is to save lives.
It's not saving lives. There's a conspiracy there. Should be questioned, interrogated properly for conspiracy. So it calls to question as to why, as a non-state actor, let me use the word you used at the beginning, non-state actor should be the arrowhead masterminding the release of kidnapped people.
Yeah, because the government has failed.
He has failed. He knows these terrorists. He knows what they are doing. And there is a responsibility on individuals. This is a former retired captain to report criminal activities, to help government find security. But he's not doing that. He will only come out when these kids were kidnapped to go and negotiate, to bring them. Have you heard that he reported any impending act of kidnapping or terrorism or act of criminal act or act of banditry as a former military man with intelligence, with his knowledge and with his experience?
Well, those information, they are security information and they may not be out there for,
You will also ask yourself, why was he not allowed to perform his Hajj in this year in Saudi Arabia?
To support what he's saying, if you check very well, it is not uncommon or unheard of for people to mastermind the commission of crime and then come out to behave as if they want to solve those crimes in order to receive either commendation or in order to be as if they are against those crimes. It's on record that Sheikh Gumi's aide was accused by the Nigerian security services for sponsoring terrorism. You know that. So at the end of the day, if your aide is accused of financing terrorism and you yourself, you are involved always, anytime children are kidnapped, school pupils are kidnapped, you're always involved in rescuing them. But somebody who works with you, your aide, is accused of financing terrorism, and then you are saying that you're against terrorism. Nigeria is a laughing stock. Complete laughing stock.
Well, I believe you have your own opinion about this subject of discussion. We want to get what your insight is. What would you want to comment about this? Share it in the comment section. Our comment sessions are open. We want to get insight from you because we want to get to the root of this analysis and make sure that people are rightly informed. And when, I think the person you made mention of, is it Toko?
Yes.
Toko Mamu. I think during the train, when train passengers were kidnapped in Nigeria between Abuja and Kaduna train route. But
Yes.
I don't think that, that accusation, imagine when a security service in Nigeria makes such level of accusation, and did you hear about it after that? Was that person prosecuted?
No.
No. If the answer is no, then why would people blame the activities of people like Sheikh Gumi when the government has failed the entire population in terms of security? This is somebody that is helping to save lives.
Nigerian state is being run by terrorists. I'm telling you the facts. Now, let me give you a perfect example. There was this terrorist that everybody knows was involved in, church shooting. He was eventually captured by the police. I will search for his name and bring it up to our viewers. He was captured by the police and he escaped eventually. I understand that he escaped because of certain powerful intervention, and it was a kind of, the information was packaged for us as if it's a narrative of escape. And then when he escaped, do you know where he was found? He was found at the State House of a certain politician. That certain politician was harboring these terrorists. And that certain politician is today the Vice President of Nigeria. So when you hear that some terrorists are not being prosecuted, and then you are wondering why they are not being prosecuted by the state, when somebody who protects terrorists ends up being a leader in Nigeria, the Vice President of Nigeria, what do you think? Nigeria is a terrorist state.
I cannot be bold enough to declare Nigeria a terrorist state, and I do not have that evidence. Things are not working.
What other evidence do you need when somebody who is a supporter of terrorism is the Vice President of Nigeria?
He's not the president, is he?
He's the Vice President.
He's the Vice President, but he's not the president.
He's an executive still.
Yes,
he's a member of the Executive Council.
Yes, he's a member of the Executive, but he's not the president. Is he the president?
I don't understand the difference that it makes.
No, it makes a lot of difference because he only asks when the president is not there.
But this individual we are talking about has always come out to deny this accusation.
That is why
he was a governor of a state.
That is why I said I will not be bold enough to declare Nigeria as a terrorist state. The president has been accused of being a drug lord, being an asset of the CIA,
yes,
of being incompetent to manage the economy. But I don't think he has been accused of being a terrorist.
The former Attorney General of Nigeria is being questioned for financing terrorism.
He said a former Attorney General. He's not in the present administration.
He was being questioned for financing when he was AG.
So we're talking of this present government.
No, Nigeria state is a terrorist state. That's exactly the
man you are talking about is no more in government. So I cannot be bold enough to declare the current government a terrorist, be run by terrorists.
Well,
I do not. Buhari is not my favorite. He's not my. Sorry, Tinubu. I don't know why I'm mentioning the late one.
Yeah, our dear former president, late president.
If you continue like this, we might tell Glasscast to take you off.
Why is the president of the US president Trump, calling Nigeria a disgraceful state, a disgraceful country for sitting back while Christians are being eliminated? And you're saying Nigeria is not a terrorist state. A committee of US Congress and senators went to Nigeria, investigated and saw it by themselves that the Fulani herdsmen is on Twitter, is on X rather, are involved in the elimination of Christians in Nigeria.
Maze, that's a fact. That is, I agree with you on that point. But that does not, incompetence does not translate to being a terrorist. Tinubu is incompetent to handle the security situation in the country at the moment. That does not make him...
How is it incompetent since it is what has been happening since the former 8 years of the dead Buhari? It continued under Tinubu. What other evidence do you need that this is a state decision, a state policy to eliminate Christians?
If you had told me that Buhari was a terrorist, I'll probably not argue with you. Yeah.
I don't understand. You would have asked me what evidence. Why?
I've mentioned before. Buhari was nominated by Boko Haram as their spokesman, so that qualifies him. The spokesman of the terrorists.
I would always ask for that evidence as well. So I want to take on Mazi, because Mazi, remember you said that the definition of terrorism is contextual.
Yes.
So when you try to ascribe certain activities of certain individuals as, terrorist related.
Yes.
And those individuals have come out every now and then to refute those allegations.
Yes.
And the political system, the police, the court, the security services have seen that, okay, they agree with the position of this person and they don't have enough evidence to say this person is this. Does it not give credibility to the refusal or the ability for them to refute that allegation that they engage in these activities?
A certain military governor in Abia State then was responsible. There was a panel set up. That's how this information came out. He was responsible for the elimination of people. And then when that panel was set up, he was made the head of that panel. How do you think that a panel that was set up was to find out the cause of the person's elimination? And eventually, he was made the head of that panel. Eventually, in such a scenario, how would you find out the actual person who caused that crime? You will never. The point I'm trying to make is that no matter how you investigate these things, no matter what you hear from the security services, in as much as the person who gives them direction is a terrorist, is a financier, or a supporter of terrorism, there is absolutely no way that you will actually find out that that person is a terrorist. Remember that the people who are in charge of prosecuting these people, they are the state. If the state does not initiate criminal proceedings, they won't get anywhere. So when the vice president of Nigeria is involved in terrorism, as far as I'm concerned, he's involved in terrorism. Tinubu made alliances with the North. Without Tinubu picking the vice president today, he may not have been president because he needed support from them. So he made alliances that he can't go again. Somebody came on television and said that Tinubu does not abandon his friends, those he made alliances with. That's why they are holding him by the neck. So if Tinubu is unable to prosecute these people, it's because he is being held by the neck by those people that he made alliances with, because he's power crazy. He wants to remain the president in 2027. So as far as I am concerned, they will not be prosecuted because they are those who put Tinubu there through fraud, through hook and crook. So there is no way that you should expect a terrorist state to prosecute real terrorists.
I don't know if
I've said it before. I do not have the boldness to call the present government terrorism. You mentioned the issue of Christian genocide, about the American government calling Nigeria disgraceful. on that point, I totally agree with what is happening in the country at the moment. When you look at what constitutes to genocide, under Article 3 of the Geneva Convention on Genocide, is a systematic and deliberate destruction or killing of national, racial, ethnic, or religious set of people with the aim of exterminating them. And when you break it
in
down,
whole or in parts.
In whole or in parts.
Yes.
Yeah. I know. In whole or in parts. Yeah.
So yeah, with the team of lawyers, so you would understand.
At least we agree on that one. In whole or in parts. Now, when you look at it, it's deliberate, systematic. What is happening in the north with the killing of Christians is not a random something. It's not accidental. There is that deliberate element is there. Systematic. These guys have military grade equipments. In fact, it is rumored now that they have more sophisticated equipments. When they engage in gun battle against the military bullets run out while they are. So it could tell you how systematic they are. And they are targeting a particular set of people, which forms part of that definition, which is the religious people, the Christians. And they have been killing them. In fact, I don't know how they are surviving. They would have killed them in whole, but for now, as it is now, they've killed them in part. Exactly. They've been deliberate, they've been systematic, they've been targeting a set of people. So that qualifies as genocide under the Geneva Convention of Genocide Convention of 1948. So for the government, for the American government to term it disgraceful and to term it a genocide, I actually agree on that point. But whether American intervention will solve the problem or not is something I have an opinion on, which probably, if the time permits us, I might put out what my opinion is on that. But what is happening in the country, there is a genocide from the definition of what is in the law. Keep in mind, I will stay on what the position of the law is.
Staying on what the position of the law is. We don't know the dimension America is taking when they are planning to intervene in Nigeria. But it looks like Nigerians desires more of American intervention than America does. And it looks like, because we are talking about non-state actors here, we're talking about like the person of Sheikh Ahmad Gumi. Anytime such conversation comes on social media, you see people calling, what is Trump waiting for? Should we give them transport money? Should we do that? So that they will, it begins to look like Trump is maybe the first person that Trump is coming for is Sheikh Gumi, because Sheikh Gumi represents the face of terrorism in Nigeria.
I will agree with you. And who is very vocal against the intervention of Americans, Sheikh Gumi. Why is he vocal against it? Because he knows whatever activity he has cooked up, whatever activities he is involved in will be disrupted if America intervenes. And I am in full support of American intervention in Nigeria. Yes, I'm in full support of it. The reason I'm in full support of it is because the position as it is now is not in favor of Nigerian subjects. I'm not even calling them citizens. They are not citizens. They are subjects because they are subjugated. They are not deriving any benefit that any citizen derives in a country. So they are subjects. So the American intervention in Nigeria, however you look at it, is in the interest of Nigerians. Because if, at least for once, it will disrupt the activities of those terrorists. It will make somebody like Sheikh Gumi to go into hiding.
I hope Elder here will agree that the American community is in the interest of Nigerians.
Well, it will be interesting to hear his own view.
Well, I think I put out my view.
I want to hear your view.
About my view on that. Nigeria is not working. I have defined what genocide is and terrorism. What is happening in Nigeria is alarming, is disgraceful. Let me borrow the words of Trump. But the American intervention is going to leave us worse off. As an aside, if America comes into Nigeria, the Biafra they are agitating for, you are not going to get it.
I totally disagree.
Well, let me finish my point.
Yes.
Let me finish my point. You are not going to get it.
Okay.
Now, I remember in about three of our three previous episodes, we talked about colonialism. Any country coming to intervene, they are not coming because of your interest. It's because of their selfish interest. Take example of the places that America has intervened. They are left worse off than they made them. Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. What other places? Vietnam, though they failed in Vietnam woefully. So if you think they are going to come and solve our problem, America is going to leave Nigeria more divided than they met us. Once they come in, what is going to happen is that the North will think that the South have gone to bring America. They will polarize the country the more. It will now be a religious war, the Christians in the South and the Muslims in the North. Because even when you gauge the opinion in social media, it is the allegation has been there. It's the Christians, it's the Southeast that are wanting to America to come. And the Northerners are now saying, oh, these are problems. They want Trump to come. So it's already polarized. And when they come in, that's going to be worse. And America, the amount of people they will kill with accidental bombing the wrong targets will be more than what the terrorists have killed. What I'm calling for is better governance, good governance. The first and primary duty of every government is protection of life and property. So it is our responsibility. We should look inwards, solve our problems. No external influence, no external intervention, especially coming from America or coming from Britain, will help Nigeria.
Maz, I believe a lot of people will agree with you on this because, Elder, I believe a lot of people will agree with you on this because security issues are local and it takes local effort to address them. I know Maz wants to say something.
Yes.
When people are saying America should come, Maz, have we considered who pays the bill?
Very good. First and foremost, I want to go against the statement that you just made, that a lot of people will agree with my colleague here. A lot of Nigerians will not agree. He's taking a position as a Nigerian. That's the reason he says that it is not in the interest of Nigeria for America to intervene. But Nigeria as an entity is an artificial entity, that just as we have established severally on this platform. Nigeria is an artificial entity that is not working. So, as an artificial entity, it is in the interest of that artificial entity to continue if America does not intervene, which is the position that he is taking. But if you want America to intervene and for the several sectors of Nigeria to go their separate ways, if that is what you want, then American intervention is the best thing for you.
But let me ask you, before you get to the bill, is America coming to divide Nigeria?
That's a very, very good question. Remember that there is an adage that we Igbos have, Alarem Wurundenze. That thing means that whenever there is chaos, there's always somebody that benefits from that chaos. And the way Nigeria is today is not benefiting the Igbos. So what do we have to gain by Nigeria remaining the way it is? And then we should ask ourselves, what do we have to lose by America intervening? So if you are an Igbo person, if you are a Southeasterner or a Southerner, American intervention in Nigeria is in your interest. I'm telling you this in today. Let us look at it. The oil that you have in your land, you are not benefiting from it. I know that the angle that my colleague is going to us in terms of who is going to pay for it is in terms of the oil and gas that we have. What you have in Nigeria today, what are you benefiting from it? Can you tell me? You're not benefiting anything. Instead, other people are ruling you in your own land on top of your own resources. So at the end of the day, it's better for you to have an intervention from an outside person who you, at least, if not for any other, who you know that you can negotiate with. Not somebody that you want to claim self-determination and he will put you in prison in Sokoto. Not that kind of person. So American intervention is in the interest of you as a Southeasterner, as a Southerner, than the Fulani Caliphate ruling over you.
I believe
you have said how that would. What you've said is let there be chaos. That's exactly what you have put. How is that? You have not pointed out how that is going to benefit us.
How it will benefit us? How it will benefit us?
I want to draw.
You also ask a question. Who is going to pay the bills?
I want to draw an example here.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at what is happening currently, America is heavily involved in supporting Ukraine for their freedom, for their self-determination. And that is how far America goes. But if you look at what has been happening in recent time, it looks like America is now beginning to, if I may use this word, twist the Ukrainian president to take away their natural resources. These are the natural resources, like the one that Trump made him sign to give them
earth minerals,
real earth minerals and all this. And these are the resources that will be there to support generation upon generation of Ukrainians.
Yeah.
And now they have been twisted to sign off this to America. Remember, when you are talking about these resources in the southeast, in the south, you remember the Bakassi Peninsula.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because we cannot do this, we'll sign it out. At the end of the day, who are benefiting from it?
Okay,
so
let me
who
address
pays
that
the
issue.
price?
Let me address the issue. The issue of Bakassi Peninsula. I don't think that is you can use it as an equivalent example on this case. That's another
It was signed off during the Civil War, the Nigerian Civil War.
Yes.
So you want America to come in now and sign off another.
So that's why I brought it in. Using the case of like what happened in Ukraine a few months ago, and linking it to what happened in Nigeria during the Civil War.
So remember, if Nigeria gave Cameroon Bakassi Peninsula for them to have access to Biafra, you can't want them not to take a land that you have given to them. It doesn't make sense. You gave it to them to have an advantage, and you had your advantage, and then you want to turn back and take that. You can't do that. It doesn't work that way at all. So look at the point that I am trying to make here. My people used to say that at the end of the day, we have to give something to get something. That one is a fact. The way it is now, my position is based on on a very, very good scenario. I would like nobody should intervene in Biafra land. Let us have all our oils and gas. Let us use it by ourselves. Well and good, but that is not the position the way it is now. The way it is now, the Fulanis are in charge of our oil and gas. The Fulani
Mazi,
I
think we're running out of time.
Let me land. The Fulanis have oil blocks in Biafra land, and Biafrans don't. So at the end of the day, they are using our oil, and we are not. And you cannot use your oil because the Fulanis have oil blocks in your land. You cannot be president of Nigeria to even have certain resources just like seaports in your own land. So what are you benefiting? If you are able to negotiate with America in order that America will pay for it by having some stake in your oil, and at least you have some part of it, it is better for you. That's my stand.
I know Elder will want to say something, but when you look at, we've mentioned, more recent and maybe, most maybe historical intervention that America has done in the past. And when you take analysis of, there are a lot of countries that America has intervened. And, take for example, like I have a long list here, like Grenada, like Panama, like Kuwait, even in the Balkans, and even in Philippines and all those places. We made mention of the Vietnam. Look at their economy today. Okay, apart from Kuwait, who went their own way and managed their thing even using autocratic means. It doesn't go to other places. I don't think they would agree with you. I don't think they would be happy to say, if they have that opportunity today to say, America, come and intervene, and we know you have economic objectives when you come to intervene in these places, we're happy to cede this to you or cede this to them.
You are not looking at let me answer him, then you will say some please. Okay? You are not looking at my position as a Biafran. That's the reason you are making this statement. You are looking at me as a Nigerian. Yeah. As a Nigerian, American intervention is not in my interest.
America is not coming to Biafra.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. I don't want Nigeria to exist.
But there is no Biafra.
Exactly. So if Nigeria doesn't exist, there is an opportunity for Biafra. Since you are not understanding me, the Nigeria that you are propagating for today, I don't want it to exist. I want a peaceful dissolution of Nigeria. So if Nigeria continues to stand the way it is, American intervention is not in the interest of Nigeria. But that is not what I want. So that's why you are misunderstanding my own position.
Good. He has actually made the point I want to make. Mazi wants Biafra, and he wants it at all costs. Yes.
Yes, I want peace for Biafra.
He wants it, and he wants it at all costs.
So,
But what I can assure you is that America is not going to give you Biafra. I'll leave you.
You don't know that.
I know that, and that is going to come by this question now. I'm going to leave you with this question. Mention one country where America intervened and left the citizens, including those who wanted them to intervene, better off than they made them.
Yeah, I've listed a number, quite a number of them.
Kuwait.
Yes.
What did they do in Kuwait? Tell us.
America prevented Iraq
From
invading Kuwait when they invaded Kuwait.
That was not an internal issue in Kuwait. It wasn't an internal rivalry.
No.
It was a kind of. It's just like what NATO is doing in Ukraine.
Yeah.
No. Remember,
it wasn't like there was internal crisis in Kuwait.
Kuwaiti land. No, remember that Kuwaiti land was divided by the British. So Iraq was claiming Kuwait or a major part of Kuwait. You understand? That was an issue of border that concerned Kuwait and Iraq.
Yeah.
So what happened was
Two different things. The issue where America wants to intervene now is not the issue of border between Nigeria and Benin Republic or between Nigeria and Cameroon. It's an internal issue. So they wouldn't help you.
You're saying they wouldn't help me as a Nigerian. That's why I'm telling you. That's where you are missing the point. I don't want them to help me as Nigerian.
Yeah.
You understand? As Nigeria, I've made that point clear here. As a Nigerian, American intervention is not in your interest. But what do you think Nigeria is? Nigeria is a country that remains Nigeria through the use of the blood of its citizens. Its subjects. Without the blood of its subjects, Nigeria will not remain the way it is here today. So I am not talking as a Nigerian. If I talk as a Nigerian, I wouldn't want America to intervene because I know that it will not be in the interest of Nigeria. But in the interest of Nigeria, who does it serve? It only serves the elites and the Fulani Caliphate who want that artificial entity called Nigeria to stand. But that is not what I want. I want the peaceful dissolution of Nigeria so that the several entities in Nigeria, the north, the west, and the east, we go their separate ways so that at the end of the day, Nigeria will compete between its several sectors and stand as a strong entity.
Well, guys, you would always agree with me. Remember I said it's always it seems impossible until it's done. And it seemed impossible to bring Mazi to this discussion today. And it's been done. You could agree with me now that it has been an interesting conversation. And remember, we only express opinions and we do analysis that would, help you learn. We are not here to inform any policy or any political. We are not working for anybody, but we bring out facts. We bring out evidences. We put it out there so that you can do your own analysis. You can also inform us where we are lacking information so that we can derive further conversation. So we want you to continue to make good use of our comment section. We leave it open for you to share ideas with us. Let us know what you think about this particular conversation. And I'm here thinking that somebody will have a question for Mazi, especially when you are talking about dissolution of Nigeria. If you've not thought about what happens to interfamily, interpersonal relationships. For some of us, we are married to a man or a woman from Zamfara, from Katsina to Imo State, from Enugu to Osun State, from Delta to Adamawa, from all the parts of Nigeria. Nigeria have come together to be one, and Nigeria have existed as one. When we talk about all this area, have we thought about how this would affect generational relationships? And
I think, Dr. we have run out of time, but I just want to make a concluding statement. My prayer is that the God I serve will open your eyes to see what the American intervention will look like in Nigeria.
I know what American intervention looks because I'm a set of it. I know that very well.
That's my concluding statement.
Okay, my concluding statement is that as a Nigerian, it will not be in the interest of the artificial entity called Nigeria for America to intervene. That one is clear. But I want Nigeria to divide peacefully. and it is in the interest of the various entities in Nigeria, the Oduduwas in the southwest, the Biafrans in the southeast, and the Arewas in the north. It is in your interest for America to intervene. If not for any other thing, it will stop the rampant Fulani invasion of Nigeria, the killing of your kids and kin, and these terrorist headers, Fulani headers, terrorizing the whole community. At least it will, if not stop it completely, it will put a halt to most of their activity. So it is in your interest for America to intervene in that entity called Nigeria.
It is in your interest. Well, we'll find out more as we continue. I'm not leaving you off the hook, Mazi, because we'll come back to address this conversation. What I want to do now is I want to go back to our audience. I want to go back to our followers and our subscribers. I will get more facts from you. I will get more insight from you. I will bring Mazi here again. I will bring our elder, the son of Glasscast, here again, so that we can do further analysis based on the insight we get from you. Do well to engage with us. Do well to share your comment and your insight with us. And we're happy to be here.
Doctors, I will come here again without wearing my Wazobia attire.
As a
Nigerian flag.
Yes, I will. Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so on this note, we want to say thank you for being with us, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.